Okay. So this is the whole structure of a proposal. Okay, somebody send a chat. All right. Basically, yeah, as I mentioned, this strategy can be used for your master dissertation, short master dissertation, for your future PhD, or for your research project, research industrial project, or any other project that you are involved with. This is a common structure. Of course, you need a title. And very important, today we are going to discuss about executive summary, literature, statement of problem we have discussed in detail last week, and how to write a proper objective, experimental design. Gantt chart is very technical. Once you have all the informations, the objective and the milestone that you wish to achieve, then we just put it in the Gantt chart. And then graphical abstract as well as risk management. Yeah, because risk management will be giving the idea whether the project is going to be very risky or is going to be simple. Okay, that will give you some ideas to the what do you call words those who are going to provide you with funding. Okay, so they need to know about that. All right, so coming back to the title, as I mentioned before, okay, if it is for PhD or master dissertation, I would suggest you do the proposal, do the problem statement first, do the literature review first, and then come back to the title. But the title, the main characteristic of the title, it should represent the overall, means that when people read the title, they know exactly what should be inside. Okay, and it shouldn't be too long because it depends on the specific university. Some universities give you around 20 words. Okay, you have to check with the UPM. Depends on the university. And usually not too general and not too specific. If you're doing a lot of materials in that particular research, then you have to classify them. Okay, let's say you prepare a lot of nanomaterials, for example, then you cannot put everything in the title. So you have to classify the types of the nanomaterials to put in the title. So that, I mean, in order to do that, you have to you need to have a proper discussion with your supervisor. Okay, for the next one, if you are, for example, applying for grant application, like researchers who are going to apply for grant application, or you are a company applying a grant under certain what like MOSTIS grant, okay, like certain departments, like departments of energy grant. Okay, you have to be careful about the title. Okay, usually the title or the research has to be, not to say bombastic, has to be catchy, has to be trendy. Okay, in order to get to catch the eye of the evaluator of the grant. I'm not sure many of you involved in here know about. I mean, you need to apply for grants, but in future, if you are applying for money, okay, for research grant or for commercialization grant, you have to make it catchy. Okay, so for it is a bit different compared to those who are doing PhD and who are those doing master dissertation is more academic. So I will try to show you the example for both academic and more on the grant application. Okay, depends on who's going to be your stakeholders. Stakeholders means the one that going to supply the money for the particular research. Okay, and those who are doing PhD or master dissertation, okay, in academic, it is very important to highlight the novelty of the research, because that's the one that you want to point out. This is something new. Not 100% totally new. It can be an improvement, but you have to highlight the new things that you wish to do in your title. Okay. So this is what I have done before, but I think I will show you other titles as well. As I mentioned, from our first lecture as well, there are different types of research. Okay, you have fundamental research, you have applied research. Applied means that you have already know some theories, some fundamental work has been done, but you want to develop into a prototype, a device, something that is working. Okay, so when we talk about applied research, means that for example, you have found an active compound for skin whitening. For example, you already have done the fundamental work in the lab. You know it is not toxic, but you want to make it into upscale and then apply it for some other applications. Then you my advice, usually we use the word development. Okay, so when we talk about development, it's about applied research. Okay, so in here, because this is academic, this is very academic research grant. So my at that time, yeah, this is an old project. At that time, the word nanotransducers, okay, in here, amino acids and peptides are the keywords or the novel keywords. I mean, I have to study, and then I found out at that time, that was many years ago, that the keyword nano transducers and the keyword of using amino acids and peptides, it's like green. Okay, S recognition element is novel compared to the common chemicals being used. So that's what things that you need to use. You have to play with words if you want to obtain grant money. Okay, so this is my my old application when I applied under MOSTI. MOSTI is Minister of Science and Ministry of Science and Innovation in Malaysia. So whenever that you want to do application, you have to know the stakeholders. For example, MOSTI focus on applied research. So you have to use the applied words, development, and what are they targeting right now? Okay, at that moment, they are targeting nano related technology. So I have the word nano there. And then I put in some green element, which is amino acids and peptides. Okay, so this is for grant application, might be useful for you someday. And for those who are doing a PhD or masters in future, dissertation, you don't have to do this way. Okay, you can use the word development, but you can just replace the word nanotransducers with, for example, specific amino acids or peptides, which is more specific, related to your title. This one it looks like very general because I don't specify the name of the peptides, types of amino acids, okay, because it's a grant application. I want to make it more open so that I have many options. But for your PhD or your master dissertation, it should be more specific. Okay. For example, you can specify the metal that you wish to detect, and you can specify the peptides that you wish to use. Okay. So I hope I've given you some ideas on the title. As I mentioned, title shouldn't be the first one that you want to write, but it should be the problem, okay, which we have discussed last week. Okay, now I jump to executive summary because it is very important now. It is very important to know how to write a good executive summary because many people, especially those who are evaluating your write-up, okay, your proposal, of course, they look at the title, whether it's interesting, it's trendy, it is fits the needs now, or it is an old idea or whatnot. Okay, people will look at the title, and the next one, they don't look. Of course, I mean, the evaluator or whoever it is will not have time to read everything. Let's say they need to screen so many applications, so many proposals, for example. So the best way to evaluate the proposal is by looking at the executive summary. Okay, so executive summary sort of represent the whole idea of your proposal. Okay, so like if you ever have written a thesis, you have to write an abstract. Okay, so that abstract is like executive summary is like abstract for a proposal. Abstract is for thesis, means that you have done the research, you have obtained data and all that. But for proposal, the whole idea is simplified in executive summary. So that's why executive summary has to be very powerful in order to convince the reader, in order to convince your supervisor, probably in order to convince the evaluator, the one who's evaluating your proposal. Okay, if you look at the executive summary, usually they give you 500 words, limited. So it is good to comply to that. Okay, so the first thing you can see here, which we have discussed yesterday, the problems. Okay, of course, you need to write a bit of introduction. Remember about the problem statement last week? You need to write a bit of introduction because you need to introduce to the people what the problem is, and then you go to the a little bit of what has been done, okay, and you know that there are room for improvement. There are still some things that can be done on that because based on your quick literature or quick interview or based on your quick reading on the reports that you find there are some room for improvement. And then after that, you start to propose your solution. Okay, so I mean, your solution also is back with a solid science based on some theories, based on some previous research. You believe that your solution can improve the problem solving, and you can also suggest a better one. So that will be in the problem statement, in the executive summary. But because executive summary, you have limited words, you really have to you know, have a powerful words, know how to put it down in a short sentence, as long as it catch the reader. And I think that also has been covered in the problem statement. Research necessity means is there a needs to do that? Is there a needs to means is that problem really necessary to be solved? Is that problem is real? Is that problem is very important to solve? Okay, and then what has been done just now? I mentioned, of course, somebody has done some solutions, or somebody has offered some technology, but how good it is, or how is, of course, there are still room for improvement that you can do. So this also should be, as I mentioned already in the problem statement, should be covered in that in that section in the executive summary. And now after that, you have, once you have suggest a solution of yours in executive summary, uh, you have to uh, tell the readers as well what methods are you suggesting, what kind of um, solution. So what's so special about that methods that you believe that is going to add some value or improve the previous method? So you have to tell them in executive summary as well. And it is also covered in your problem statement, like I mentioned last week. And I also mentioned a problem statement that it should be back. It should be corroborated with theory, solid science, okay? And then hypothesis, if any, and setting the limits or boundaries of the proposed, okay. And you also have to clarify that whatever solution that you are suggesting is up to certain scope, okay? Of course, you cannot solve everything in that problem, but you are focusing on certain scope there. So that should also be in executive summary, because as a reader, as an evaluator, we need to know that they need to know that, okay, how far are you going to solve the issue? Okay, you just want to solve, you can only solve certain parts, you cannot do the rest, or you cannot solve a big problem, you only solve one part of the problem. And it is good in executive summary, you need to write the impact. Okay, so this is not something that we have discussed in problem statement, right? We don't write the impact, but in executive summary, you need to write the impact. Let's say if you have this technology, how much you can reduce the price, or how much you can reduce the cost. Or it can be not numbers, it can be the well-being of the society or whatsoever. It can be other impact as well. I mean, impact can be very general. It does not have to be dollars and cents. Okay, it can be related to psychology, society, all those things that you cannot count. Okay, so impact also is very important. Okay, so executive summary. So I'm going to show you an example. I think I have it. Just a moment, I need to drink some water. Okay, I'm giving you an example that I have written for my previous application as well. So it might be not 500 words, it might be more than that. Okay, but I'm going to show you the points that we have discussed just now, the problems. Okay, So here, you have to introduce, okay? So I'm in the first point, I introduced the issue of tuberculosis. And the biggest problem here, if we fail to control the spread of TB, then it will allow transmission within communities and as well as worldwide. And it's good if you can give some statistics or data in the introduction part. So in here, because I'm applying grants in Malaysia, so I'm giving some facts in Malaysia. And the issue that I would like to highlight is the diagnostic test for TB, the standard one, mostly based on laboratory, means that you have to bring the sample to the lab and somehow, or you can do, I don't know if any of you has experience, you have to do the skin test, okay? Mentok test, and if the skin test requires you 3 or 4 days before you can conclude whether you are positive for TB or you are not. And if it is lab-based, the standard procedure is you have to give the sputum for 3 days. You have to submit the sputum for 3 days, and then they will make some process and then look for the certain morphological analysis under microscope. So those things are time, okay, time consuming, as well as it requires a specific people or an expert people looking at the microscope whether they can find the bacteria or not. Okay, it's not for us like common people can just look at the microscope and find it. No, it has to be those experts. So that has to be told in executive summary, because the one that you wish to solve is the diagnostic part. I'm not going to solve the drug, okay, the treatment part or whatsoever, but I want to specifically improve the diagnostic part. So this is my proposal. Here we propose an immunoassay. Okay, so remember that I have mentioned the introduction, the problem, what is lacking, okay, and then my solution is an immunoassay based diagnostic. And then why I'm telling that this is going to be a good solution, because this is going to be a low cost, portable, user friendly. So those who is in a rural areas can have 24/7 access for testing. They don't have to like go to the specific lab, submit their sputum and all that. So this is what my novelty or my special features to my solution will be. So this is what this is part of the executive summary, and the last part is this is a bit too long. It's not 500. Okay, I just want to tell you the parts by parts that is should be in executive summary, but okay, you can choose. Depends on your. Sorry, depends on your to whoever that you apply. If it is 500, then you have to amend all the write up into 500 words. Okay, but I just want to show here the parts. So here is the method section. Okay, I want to propose a diagnostic, like for tuberculosis. So this is what I proposed. I want to have lateral flow assays based diagnostic for tuberculosis. And in here, Well, I'm not going to tell you because this is quite very specific and very scientific. So, but this is my approach. Okay. So remember that executive summary, you need all to have all this, the problem, the introduction, why is it important, and what has been done. In my case, what has been done is the previous technique that people are using. And the methods, I'm using lateral flow assay. Lateral flow assay is actually the test strip that people has used um, for a COVID. Okay, I'm sure that you are really familiar with that. So so this is my suggestion. And then in the end, okay, this is very specific because I'm telling that the current lateral flow system is not sensitive. So my suggestion that I can improve the sensitivity by having this technology. So those things you can play around. Okay, and of course, in the end, you can write the impact. So the impact will be it's more user friendly, cost saving, and then if you can control, if can more people can do a lot of testing, then of course the spreading can be controlled much better. So this is very important because you sort of write the whole proposal in 500 words. Okay, I of course I'm not saying that the one that I have showed is 500 words, but it is just for your explanation to you the parts in the executive summary. Okay, questions for executive summary because this is very important. Any questions?
Prof, sorry, if our project is totally new, there is no history so can we skip that?
Okay, totally new means that uh, but to solve let's say, I don't know, because I don't know what kind of project is that. I don't believe that everything is totally new. But what kind of is it drug?
If not new, Prof, if can be related, maybe similars, but not exactly the same. Also, we can discuss inside the executive summary.
Yeah. I mean, the problem, okay, what has been done towards that problem? It's
Okay.
not necessarily exactly the same. I mean, but what has been done towards that solving the problem? Okay, so because I don't think I'm not saying that it's just not novel, but most of the time we don't do totally new things, but we unless you're doing very fundamental work, for example, you're doing very fundamental work, and then you cannot like compare your solution with others because you're doing exploratory very fundamental works, right? But most of the time we don't do that. It's okay, I mean, yeah, you can think about how to write, but this is the basic executive summary. Okay, and as I told you, it is very important. If you can get this done, you can get the whole proposal done easily. Okay, so I believe there is no more questions. Back to the introduction, even though this has been covered in the executive summary. So introduction is like you introducing sufficient background information, means that you don't have to put a lot like literature review, but you need to introduce, okay, the the one that you wish to do in introduction, and also you have to introduce a bit of problem in the introduction. So introduction is to allow the reader to understand the context and significance of the question that you are trying to address. So usually introduction, we can join together introduction with problem statement. You don't, I don't know, if it is in thesis, like a PhD thesis or master dissertation, usually we separate introduction and problem statement. But for me, actually, you can write it together, because in problem statement as well, you need to write introduction. So if you have written introduction before the problem statement section, then you don't have to write the introduction again in the problem statement section. Okay, so it can be joined together. So I have discussed on the example of introduction, like you have to introduce the problem, you have to give some statistic, and then you have to give the view of the problems, the existing solutions that is already uh, in the market or already being used or already being solved by the previous researchers. But at the same time, you have to highlight there are still issues with the existing technique and then existing materials, and you wish to contribute to improve that area. So those are the gist of the introduction and problem statement, as well as in executive summary. Okay. Right. So we have actually covered from title, executive summary, and statement of problem. Okay. We haven't done the literature review. Okay. So let us go to literature review if you don't have any questions. Okay. So remember about that we talk about the solutions, mean that people have done it, somebody has done, and then you want to highlight that the method or the technology that people have done before has some weaknesses, and you want to improve that, or you have a totally new idea which is not related to the previous research. You can also write literature review in general. Okay. So in literature review is the one that you can expand, starting from the background, starting from the previous research, the reports that you have read, and things that you want to tell the reader about the technology that you wish to develop. I mean, in literature, you can go very broad and you can go in detail. Okay. The question is still similar. What's the problem? Where did the problem? What's the problem? What is already known, and what other methods have been tried to solve it? I mean, it is revolving in the same area, in the same section, but now you can go broader. Okay. But writing, the issue is how to write a good literature. You already have the content. You know what to talk about, what to write about, but the way that you write. Okay. So literature review is a review. Okay. I think I don't know whether I have it or not. Okay. Okay. So we are going to have a special session on literature review by someone. I have invited someone. So in general, review, okay. We will also discuss how to write review in the thesis section later, not during the proposal, but in the thesis section. But the key things about writing a review is if you look at, I don't know whether you are familiar with food review, food reviewer who goes to eat to some restaurants and then write a review. What do they write? Okay. Anyone wish to tell? Has anyone read on?
Normally a good thing about the food, the location, the
Okay,
special menu.
the location, the menu, the places, the environment, the cost of food. Yeah. Hello. Yes. Anyone? I just hear. I just heard somebody.
No, doctor, I just mentioned the price.
Yes, the price, the environment, and how friendly is the service, right? You talk about the whole the whole system, right? But you don't like yeah, some ways to taste better. Okay. So you review the whole thing, right? You review the whole thing that is related to the restaurant. Okay. Or it can be another way if you want to find a good fish and chips, for example. Because here we don't have like various food in Malaysia. They only have food, fish and chips, the best that they have. Okay, let's say I want to review on fish and chips. Okay, so if I want to review on fish and chips, of course, I need to know about the taste. What is the ideal taste for fish and chips, for example? I don't know. This is, I mean, from the from me who does not know about fish and chips. But for those who know better about fish and chips, he or she should know that okay, it's about the crispiness, how fresh the fish is, and how tasty the better, and then how what kind of texture do you want for the chips to be. So he or she will go to many restaurants, right? Okay, many restaurants, and compare these parameters. Compare these parameters. For example, he or she wants to have a crispy batter. Means that he wants to have the 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 fish to be crispy, let's say. So he commented restaurant A has this kind of crispiness, restaurant B has this kind of crispiness, and he or she make comparisons. So this one suits to his taste or whatsoever. So you can see that this is how we write review. Okay. The problem is when you don't when people write review in thesis, usually it's like a summary. As because review is not a summary. Summary is like you are telling restaurant A provided fish and chips. This is the form. This is the recipe. This is whatsoever. This is the cost. This is what. Which is, I mean, is like you are giving a summary, but you are not putting your view in the review. If you are putting your own view in the review, you will tell a story. You will make comparison between restaurant A and restaurant B in terms of crispiness, in terms of freshness of the fish. You put in your words there. You put in your feelings there. So that is review, but you don't summarize. Okay, if you just summarize, you just tell, okay, restaurant A provide you this, restaurant B provide you this. That is summary. But if it is a review, you read all the informations, let's say regarding one material called quantum dots, for example, and you put in the literature review as a view of your knowledge from all you have read. For example, you are talking about what's so special about quantum dots. What's so special? What are the most methods being used to produce quantum dots? So you digest all the informations from the journal that you have read and you put in as a story in literature review. So that is a review. It's very difficult. It's the most difficult part in thesis, if I may say. I mean, you can write a summary style, people still accept, but the best way to write a review is digest all the journals, all the informations that you have obtained, you read, and you really read it, and then put it in a story form, a proper comparison, your view in that, and why is it you think that this is the best method, and so on. Okay? I hope that you get it.
Prof, means that is can be biased toward us lah.
Yeah, I understand that it should be a little bit of bias. I understand, but it's fine. I mean, in science, we are allowed to have what we call, uh, I mean, agree to disagree, dispute. Okay, we are allowed to have disputes, but it must have with certain scientific evidence. Means you prefer this because of the temperature used is low, so you must have reason behind that. Okay, so usually the problem is about cost. Okay, you use the material because it is available in the lab. Yeah, it is not a good reason to do that, but somehow um, yeah, due to the cost, we have to accept if some students mention that uh, the why he or she used certain material. Okay, somebody asked, is it possible to do comparison of methods? Yeah, you have to do that because in chemistry, preparation methods is the one that usually play around. Okay, why you use method A? Why you use method B? But try your best not to say because method A is so complicated, I don't use it. Okay, that is not a chemistry reason. Okay, try your best to do it. Okay, because method A requires a high temperature, for example, and this will lead to certain problems. So you review method B, which is has offered you a better temperature, and then has offered you and from their conclusion that they have obtained a much better product, for example, a higher percentage in product. They get 90% purity, for example. So you justify your choice by giving scientific factors to your justification. Okay, so yeah, I think the best way for me is to read a good review. If you go to journals, okay, if you go to journals doing some research, you should research on the good journals. For example, Elsevier give you a good journals. You know how to, you know, differentiate between a good journals and not so good journals, the quality of journals. By now, I think you should know that. Okay. And this is crucial because if you review a good journal, then you will get a good output. You will get a good information. So if you want to know how to write a good literature review, you go to Nature. If you can get access to Nature journal and then find one good review paper, then you know what I'm talking about. It's it comes right from the writer, the views, and then it's not a summary, it's a review. Okay, I think I stop there for literature review. Okay, let's continue. Statement of problem, we have done that. Let's continue to the last part before we stop, is the objective. Okay, in writing proposal, it is very important to focus on the objective because you cannot As I mentioned, you cannot do all the work. And then being practical as well is very important. You are doing master dissertation, what we call as short project, okay? And you only have 1 year, which the first semester usually you kick off on the proposals, and then since some of you are working full time, imagine that you have to work and at the same time you want to complete the project as well as the write up, the dissertation write up. So you have to scale down the objective, what you want to do in your master dissertation. So this is an example of 2 years project. Okay, and it's a PhD project. So it's a 2 years project, a PhD project. So if you're working on master dissertation, please don't do this. Okay, so if it is master dissertation, you might be able to do only one objective. Okay, so to develop nanotransducer, for example, nanotransducer, in this case, you want to develop the nanomaterial. So you can prepare the nanomaterial and then do the necessary characterization. That's it, enough for you. Okay, so very important to know your limitation in terms of time, in terms of technical, in terms of cost. Remember, 3 things. You only have, I consider, 1 semester to do the project. Okay, and then in terms of time, that was in terms of time, and then in terms of technical, means technical, what assets that you have. Are you going to do it in your lab, in your lab workplace? Then you have to look at what project do you have, what machines do you have, because you are not able to come to UPM, for example, on daily basis, for example. Then you have to look at the technical part. And the third one is cost, because for master dissertation, because since it is just a very short project, so we don't want to spend a lot of money on that. So you have to really discuss with your supervisor what types of characterization that you can send to, because all the services in UPM has to be paid. And we allocate some money for you, but there are limitations. Your supervisor knows how to help you. So if you need to send, for example, for expensive service, for example, FISAM, I don't know. I hope that you know FISAM, TEM, those are expensive, okay, morphological analysis. So you cannot send like 10 samples. You cannot send like so many samples. You have to strategize what samples that you can send. So you have to think about these 3: time, technical, and cost. So that will be for objective. And another thing about objective, it should be measurable. So you can see some of my words here are not measurable. Okay, so some might be measurable to some people, some word might not be measurable to certain people. If for me, I think it is measurable because in this project, I want to develop the nanotransducer. So means that when I achieve the nanotransducer, mean I prepared the nanotransducer, means that this is the key point where I stop. Okay, I have developed, so it has to be measured. So the word that is not measurable for me, okay, to evaluate or to, what do you call, uh, to study, okay, to study the nanotransducer. So it's like open end. You don't know where to stop. To study the nanotransducer, you don't know where to stop. But if to develop and you do a certain level, you have developed fully, then you stop. Okay. The second one, to characterize the sensing ability. I mean, for you who doesn't know sensing ability, you might not, you don't think so. Okay, I don't know what is sensing ability. For us who work in sensors, we know when we say sensing ability, we are talking about response time, we are talking about reproducibility. There are certain sets of parameters that we aim for. So when I put to characterize means I know if I achieve all these sensing parameters, then I'm okay. So I know where to stop. That is measurable. If I achieve it 90%, that is also measurable. Okay. So the word that you try to avoid is to study, to evaluate, because you don't know where to stop, what to measure. Okay, you can search for other words as well. So the most important part in objective is to know the scope. Okay. The second one is to use the right words. That is measurable words. Okay, question before we stop. Questions?
Prof,
Yeah.
just a quick question. Okay, so from my understanding,
Mm.
for the study of proposal, we should have title, and then executive summary, heading, and then literature review, and then statement of problem. Which the executive summary and statement of problem are more or less the same. It's just that we have the impact inside the executive summary. Is it
Okay.
is it
You get it right. Okay, this is what we um um a structure of proposal generally looks like. Okay, title, and then executive summary is to make things easy for the reader. Sometimes they don't really need this, but it's good for you to practice. Okay. And then literature review, as I mentioned, you can go broader, and we have discussed about literature review, and you scale down to statement of problem, and then objective. So we have discussed up to here now, up to objective. Okay.
okay? So the introduction we write in the statement of problem, right?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Sometimes sometimes they write statement of problem first before literature review, but for me, in order for you to write a good statement of problem or problem statement, you need to read some literatures. So that's why I put it literature review first before problem statement. These two, sometimes you can change the place, depends, right? Okay, but this is my suggested structure.
Normally, Prof, the literature review, how many journals that expected?
I would say enough. Enough means that what is your scope? What do you want to review about? So review, you don't have to do from sea to sky. No, you have to focus. Okay. So I cannot give you suggestion if I don't have the title. But let's say my title just now is on TB diagnostic, right? So I'll be looking at one is what are the recent technologies, what are the recent techniques that is in the literature, that is in that has been endorsed by WHO, okay? And what are the issues that is currently going on with the diagnostic? There are issues with those HIV patients, there are issues with stability, or there are issues with sensitivity. So I will talk about it in the review. So if I, let's say, want to focus on these three, it's not about how much. It's about, is it enough information that I have put in the review? Okay. And of course, it should be 50% recent, means that the last 5 years. It cannot be like 2008. You can put some that is old journals or old literature, because sometimes science in old literatures, they are there. I mean, they stay there, which is good. But you also need to put the latest 5 years. Okay, a lot of latest 5 years. So I would say enough, not how much. Okay, somebody asked, since I'm a full-time student, if I wants to find out where my master's thesis is going, does that mean that we need to read a lot of journals from now on? Yes, Lily, what you want to do. But my suggestion, if you are registered with master dissertation, I forgot the code, CHM. Anyone is currently, yeah, Zawa, I think CHM, what is the code? CHM,
For which one, Prof? Sorry?
master dissertation code.
5998A. Oh, my one
Ah.
is A.
5998A, Lily, then you will be guided to certain supervisor, and then you have at least some scopes to solve. If you, yeah, as I mentioned, you can bring the problem to your supervisor, or you can discuss with the supervisor that he or she wants to give you the title. But it can work both ways. Right, Lily? I hope that answered your questions. All right. So I think we should take a break. It's already 11:56. So during the 8 to 9 session, we're going to discuss a bit more on experimental design. Okay. I hope that covers, and we can cover two: experimental design and graphical abstract. Gantt chart and risk management is very easy. And by the end of our class today, I hope to divide you into groups for some simple tasks for next week. Okay, so thank you. Take a break. Thank you. And then we are taking a break, and I see you in